If you haven't seen his work, you've probably seen the backlash. Nude statues on public buildings, pregnant women carved in raw marble, a Christ so human it was called blasphemous. His sculptures were banned and vandalized. Before there was Bacon, Freud, or Moore, there was Jacob Epstein, a one-man revolution in British art. In 1907, he unveiled a series of nude sculptures for the British Medical Association building on the Strand in London. Figures that were raw, primal, even pregnant. Maternity was the most shocking, a visibly expectant woman carved without shame. To the Edwardian public, this was indecency. Epstein, drawing on Buddhist and Jain influences, defended the works as celebrations of life and truth. Some, like the Bishop of Stepney, supported him. But by 1937, the building's new owners removed the heads and limbs, literally defacing his vision. Soon after, in 1910, Epstein created Sun God, an enigmatic figure inspired by Egyptian and Oriental forms. It marked his break from Western classical ideals. Decades later, he carved primeval gods on its reverse, two hunched, brooding figures locked in eternal contrast. The piece became a mythic dialogue between light and darkness. In 1911, he was commissioned to sculpt Oscar Wilde's tomb in Paris. He carved a winged Assyrian-style messenger, poetic, powerful, unapologetically nude. French authorities balked, covering the genitals. Epstein refused to censor it. Years later, a fig leaf was added. Still, this was a turning point. His first major piece carved directly in stone, not modeled in clay and cast. It set the tone for the rest of his career. During the early 1910s, Epstein also carved doves, a tender piece, two marble birds, pressed gently together. Critics initially found it strange, even grotesque, but over time it was recognized for what it was, a quiet, intimate moment of peace on the eve of a world at war. In 1913, Epstein built his most radical work, Rock Drill, a semi-robotic male figure astride an actual industrial drill. It embodied modernist aggression, mechanical strength, and the speed of the age. But after the devastation of World War I, he dismantled it. All that remained was a broken torso, vulnerable, exposed, a powerful metaphor for war's destruction of the human spirit. In the years that followed, Epstein turned to portraiture. Lillian Shelley was one of many busts he carved, realistic, accessible, and commercially successful. It helped restore his reputation, but he didn't abandon spiritual subjects. In 1926, he unveiled The Visitation, Mary and Elizabeth rendered in monumental stillness, the divine made tangible. A year later, he cast Madonna and Child in bronze, a soft maternal image warmly received. Unlike his confrontational nudes, this sculpture was welcomed. Proof that Epstein could work within tradition without compromising himself. In 1924, he sculpted Joseph Conrad, intended as a national gift to Poland. But it was rejected, too rough, too monumental. Conrad, however, admired it. Rima followed in 1925 for the memorial writer W.H. Hudson. Then came Night and Day in 1929. Commissioned for the new London Underground headquarters at 55 Broadway, the male nude representing Night provoked fury. Epstein was eventually forced to reduce the size of the genitals. It was his last major public commission, for decades. Genesis, completed in 1931, was perhaps his most controversial. A massive pregnant figure, carved from 3 tons of marble. Its face was blank, almost mask-like. Viewers called it monstrous. It terrified them. Albert Einstein sat for Epstein in Norfolk. Over 7 sessions, Epstein didn't just sculpt the great scientist, he captured his inner world. The result was not flattering, but deeply human. In 1935, Epstein carved Christ in majesty, a solemn, otherworldly figure from a stubborn block of marble that broke his tools. Selby Abbey rejected it as blasphemous, but years later, it found a home in the newly rebuilt Coventry Cathedral, facing the destruction of war, with calm resilience. Then came Jacob and the Angel in 1941. 4 tons of alabaster, locked in a divine struggle. His Madonna and Child for a Catholic convent in Cavendish Square was gentler. He softened her features for his patrons, one of the few times he altered a piece to please a client. But he remained bold. In 1958, St. Michael and the Devil rose above the doors of Coventry Cathedral. Epstein began carving before final approval. The result stunned the church. An angel in mid-flight, overwhelming a fallen devil. Immense, powerful, impossible to ignore. That same year, he completed the Trades Union Congress War Memorial. Though the TUC disliked it, critics called it a grand tragedy, a somber elegy in stone. His final work was Rush of Green in 1961, a family in motion, surging toward nature. He completed it on the day he died. It was his last gesture, a celebration of life, renewal, and movement. Jacob Epstein was never easy, his sculptures unsettled, inspired, and often scandalized. But in carving stone, he carved something else too, a new language for British modernism.